4 fingers grip an empty cup. "Go back to your country," he shouts, tossing his beer at me. Budweiser drips down my cheeks as the cars race the Indy 500 in circles on a hot summer day in 2013. I blink. 4 fingers settle on a dime edge of limestone. A crisp Wyoming breeze envelops me as I flex my hand towards a thin hold on Ministry of Magic, a climb in Ten Sleep Canyon. I inhale, grounding myself in the moment. It's September 11th, 2023. Chalk floats in the air as my feet dance across thin smears. The cool breeze brushes my face, and my focus sharpens on the powerful, delicate crux of my first 513. I blink. People asked me questions as I grew up as an Assyrian American in Ohio. What are you? Where are you really from? After 9/11, the questions and names became sharp and derogatory. Terrorist, towelhead, and then came, "Go back to your country." My ancestors come from the ancient Assyrian Empire, which existed between 900 and 600 BCE. Located in the northern part of Mesopotamia, Assyria made up modern-day Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey. During World War I, the Ottoman Empire began an ethnic cleansing of the Assyrian population. The genocide of my people resulted in a diaspora, a mass exodus of my ancestors from their homes. Though the federal government categorizes Assyrians and other folks from the Middle East and North African communities as white, white does not reflect my experience. Born in Habanaya, Iraq, my parents escaped persecution through education. Their extensive studies in pharmacy and neonatology brought them to Chicago, Illinois, where in 1981 they joined a growing Assyrian population. After my oldest sister entered Team Zaya, my parents found jobs at the Cleveland Clinic. A few years later, my brother and I were born in Ohio. My siblings and I grew up in the liminal space between 2 cultures, American and Assyrian. To avoid Middle Eastern racism in a post-9/11 society, I fought to fit the Eurocentric mold and became vigilant about blending in. Avoiding assimilation felt like trying to stay dry while living in the ocean. I straightened my hair, I wore trendy clothes, I implored my parents to stop speaking to me in Aramaic, adding to the endangerment of my first language. I avoided anything that would highlight my difference. I tried to be American. In early 2019, 2 friends invited me to a climbing gym in Denver, Colorado. In May, they took me outside to Clear Creek Canyon in Golden, Colorado. "You should definitely lead it," they encouraged me. On the wall, I channeled my father's tribe, the Tiari, who are warriors known for bravery. That day, I on-sighted Steve's Wild Turkey Day, a 5'7". My mother's tribe, the Kuchanis, are known to be stubborn, so I returned to the crag determined. The following day, I sent Mineral Museum, a 5'9" on the Crystal Tower. You could say I was officially hooked. From that moment on, I found myself seeking out new climbing partners and exploring different climbing areas in and around Colorado. As the pandemic tightened its grip, the climbing community pulled me in even closer, offering the connection I was craving. In September 2020, Manisha Manaparuma and I created Cruxing in Color, a meetup for Denver climbers of color. Our first meetup in Curtis Park hosted 7 folks in masks. As CIC grew, it became a space where I didn't feel self-doubt. I wasn't afraid of taking up space on the wall, and I was unconcerned with comparisons to others. That same year, climbing brought me to Ten Sleep, Wyoming. My last name, Zaya, comes from the Assyrian patron saint of travel. I channeled the saint as I set off for Wyoming in my little red van, Habibi, the Arabic word for my love. I had planned a short climbing trip over summer break from my job as a preschool teacher. My 5-day stay quickly turned into 5 weeks, marking my first 10 sleep season. That summer, I sent my first 512, Wu-Tang's Wild Shinto Ride, a delicate vertical crimp route on streaks of blue rock. The next season, I moved over to Grasshopper Wall, a similarly streaked section of blue limestone. Climbers cramped into the small space under the line of 513 to 514 routes. The air felt tense as people tested their strength on small, sharp edges. My friend Lena had just sent Dances with Cows and encouraged me to try it. It would be my first 513. I felt self-conscious as I pulled through the crux and worked out the moves piece by piece, fitting myself in between the real 513 climbers. Having only sent a few low 12s, dances would be a long-term project. Still, working the choreography excited me. I didn't expect to get to the top, let alone send. I merely wanted to push the limits of what I believed I was capable of. A few weeks passed and something wild happened. I one-hung the route after falling at the crux. I couldn't believe I had gotten so close. Yet, as I continued to fall in the same place, my one-hang heaven turned into a one-hang hell. My internal voice asked me, "What's wrong with you? Why can't you send?" Projecting switched from being physical to being mental and emotional. I placed my worth and my belonging in my performance. My fists tightened as I blamed myself for being unable to perform. Tears of frustration speckled my face as I watched others send while I remained in the same place. Surely, if I could climb 513, I would feel accepted. I would be safe from harm. I would belong. I spent the summers of 2021 and 2022 one-hanging Dances with Cows, the sustained, finger-intensive climb with a very distinct crux halfway up. When my feet left the ground, my body would take over. Each movement became a piece of choreography I could almost do with my eyes closed. Unfortunately, part of the choreography was falling at the crux move, a deep back flag with my right leg as I pulled my body weight up using nothing but a sharp and shallow undercling. Once again, I felt the air whizzing by me as the end of the rope caught me. Falling at the crux move became my choreographed beta. Fall, pull on, go to the top, and clip the chains. I hiked to the crag with friends, shared my beta, and watched them send. Helping others achieve success has always been a meaningful purpose for me. Still, I felt left behind. I desperately wanted to push past my mental barrier and send. But as summer 2023 approached, I was climbing less than ever. I felt my 513 goal slip farther into the distance.
After the break, Shara heads back to 10 sleep. Support for the diaries comes from Kuat Racks. They've released the Ibex, an overlanding truck bed rack that handles substantial loads both on and off the grid, because we could all use some time off the grid, seriously. Constructed from lightweight yet durable aluminum, the black powder coat is made for all the nature you can throw at it. Available in different frame sizes to accommodate most truck models, the Ibex is engineered for adventure with versatile full and half-height configuration. It's an ecosystem of adventure possibilities. For more details, visit kuat.com. Kuat, because you will absolutely love this bed rack and go dope places. Do you have a resolution to adventure outdoors more this year? Make it happen with Sierra Club Outings. Leaders in conservation-focused, active outdoor adventures, Sierra Club Outings hosts over 250 small group trips every year where you can backpack, kayak, raft, volunteer, and more. These trips fill up fast, so reserve your spot at sierraclub.org/outings and use the code DIRTBAG to get $100 off. With Sierra Club Outings, it's more than just a trip. It's an adventure with a cause. We'll put a link in the show notes. Check out all the incredible trips they have and make that resolution happen.
Hey everyone, it is that time of year. We need your shorts, your stories, because you power this show. We hear from so many of you that one day you're going to submit your short and send it to us at the Diaries. Guess what? That moment, it could be right now. So make it a New Year's goal or use it as an excuse to take a break from Uncle Joe at the holidays. You make this community, your voice is valued. You can find all the information you need at our website, dirtbagdiaries.com. Click on the Write Us tab where you can find instructions and the submission form. Pay attention to it. It helps the cause. Trust me. Link is in the show notes, so take a moment, click on it, consider it, and then get to work. You've got until January 19th to send us your short. Once again, it's dirtbagdiaries.com/write us. Thanks.
When I showed up in Wyoming that summer, I had a strict no projecting rule. I focused on time with friends, new movement, and finding a love of climbing again. I spent all of July top roping. My mental space remained heavy after unexplained seizures, COVID, loss, weight gain, and depression. Leading just felt unsafe. In past seasons, I had tightened my grip on my goal of sending Dances with Cows and watched it drift away. This year, I let go, and things started to happen. In August, I nearly on-sighted my first 512C. I sent it in a quick second session and felt ready to take on something harder. My 513 goal kept re-emerging, but I wasn't ready to visit Dances with Cows. Instead, in late August, I approached Ministry of Magic, another painfully thin, crimpy route that my friend Lena had recommended. The climb sits in a quiet area between Valhalla and the super erratic pillar, offering more solitude than the chaotic energy of the Grasshopper Wall. After some time, I one-hung it. This time, instead of feeling thrilled, fear bubbled in my chest. My negative internal voice boomed. You're not a 513 climber. You are not enough. You will never belong. In early September, I threw myself at the climb, trying until my fingers bled. A series of tic-tacky moves on razor crimps and smeary edges from the second to the fifth bolt mark the crux. I struggled, dead pointing off 2 sharp crimps to a small edge, and I kept taking a long sideways fall. After a week, I found my own beta, my own way, and the movement finally clicked. I balanced with my right foot on a smear and my left on a pocket that barely fit my shoe's edge. I flexed up to a 2-finger pocket and clipped off a mono. Again, the climb became less physical and more mental, but this time I allowed my body to flow and didn't force anything. I knew I could send, my way. I left my climbing shoes behind and hiked up to the ministry wall, winding through the switchbacks, brushing past wild raspberries, and letting the sun warm my shoulders. At the base, I stared up at the 80 feet of limestone as doubt bubbled in my throat. Tears streamed down my cheeks. I blinked. I felt the beer dripping down my young face as shame burned red in my cheeks back in Indiana. I blinked again. My eyes settled on a heart-shaped rock at my feet. I squeezed it to my chest and placed it under the route. On September 11th, 2023, I returned to ministry. I touched the heart-shaped rock beneath the climb. I tied in and my climbing partner put me on belay. As I moved past the second bolt, I looked up at the small, sharp holds in front of me. "You can do this," I whispered. I exhaled, placed my foot in the narrow pocket, and dead pointed. Determined, I placed my fingers on the nearly non-existent holds and held on, moving up the rock until I could find a place to shake out my tired arms. I moved my right hand into a 2-finger pocket before finding the hidden mono and clipping. After 2 more bolts, I shook out. I reminded myself to stay focused. I knew I could still fall. I kept moving, calmly. Suddenly, I was at the anchors, letting out a joyful hoot. I felt the smile lines deepening around my eyes as I noticed the leaves of the canyon had begun to change from green to yellow. A new season was coming, and I would leave my summer home soon. I let out a long breath. Sadly, that peace felt short-lived. The next day, a fellow climber accused me of not sending the route correctly. She admitted it felt like 13A when she sent it, but after seeing me and my friends climb it, she knew it could only be 12D. It felt personal. Once again, I felt like an outsider. I took a deep breath as the pain threatened to take root inside of me. Suddenly, I was back in the sweltering summer heat of Indiana in 2013. I stood with the younger version of myself, beer dripping down her face. The words "go back to your country" hung heavy in the air. I took her hand, looked that racist stranger in the eye, and together we told him, "My people don't have a country. They belong to the cradle of civilization, long before his people even had the thought to colonize the land he now gatekeeps. Ancient gods sculpted my body, but men like him taught me to hate it. My people are in diaspora, existing as a minority on their native land and disappearing into history books. The Middle East isn't made of terrorists. It's filled with people like my mom and my dad, who would have fed him, clothed him, and called him family. I should never have to abandon myself to feel the unconditional belonging I have always deserved." My eyes opened and my peace returned. I realized that sending 513 didn't validate my worth. It was never about that. Clipping the chains on Ministry of Magic marked a huge accomplishment. I'd set an audacious goal for myself. I had failed. I had returned. I had struggled. And I had finally succeeded. It didn't magically alleviate my trauma or protect me from harm. But as a Tiare Kuchanis, I faced my fears and I overcame them. I am strong, worthy, and I belong. I always have. My name is Shara Zaya, and this is my short.
Thanks, Shara, for sharing your story. It's deeply appreciated. Our stories come from friends of friends, and you, our community. If you have an idea, please visit our website, dirtbagdiaries.com. There's a submission form. Go ahead and submit. Although, right this second, the website is down. That's okay. Somebody is working on it. That's made possible by all the incredible Diaries Plus subscribers out there who are bringing you this show right now, frankly put. So, thank you to everyone who's done that. If you want to help us keep this project going, please consider joining. There's a link in the show notes. It's super easy. Get it ad-free. And mostly, make sure that good things stay in this world, which is important right now. So, link is in the show notes. Music today by Free Harmonic Orchestra, Feverkin, Amy Stolzenbach, and Brendan O'Connell. Jacob Bain and Nice Koto composed our theme song. Today's show was edited and mixed by Skylar Perwins, Becca Cahal. She makes this machine run. This is all a production of Duct Tape and Beer. I'm Fitz Cahal, and you've been listening to the Dirtbag Diaries.